That's over 100,000 Bitcoin that Iran currently holds, would be the third largest Bitcoin reserve from a government, a nation state. And then yesterday, we got a report from the Wall Street Journal claiming that Iran was moving billions of dollars through Binance to finance the IRGC, which Binance denies. But remember, at the same time, let's not forget that Trump pardoned CZ from Binance in October 2025. So we're going to try and put all of this together. Obviously, I'm going to start at the beginning here. So I was going to do the show on this yesterday. But then I saw the very extremely bullish clip from Sailor. I'm like, let's get bullish today. But this is very interesting. Also, remember, in the context of all of this, we have seen Bitcoin take center stage in the Strait of Hormuz, controversy, openings and closing. Bitcoin has taken the center stage in geopolitics recently. Maybe it's a smaller role here, but it's been in the news about it. So in the context of all of that, again, we got this story from Fox News. Headline, U.S. targets Iran $7.7 billion crypto network tied to regime operations. Tehran reportedly controls roughly $7.7 billion in digital assets, or Bitcoin, and is settling cargo ship insurance payments in Bitcoin, which we covered last week. So here is where the story starts. Fox Business's Darren Boltoho joined Fox Business Stuart Varney to report on the Trump administration's effort to track and freeze cryptocurrency linked to Iran as the regime reportedly increases its use of Bitcoin-based transactions, to help move money outside the traditional banking system. Going further, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, which we've talked about this, said the Treasury Department has frozen nearly $500 million in cryptocurrency connected to the Iran regime, including $344 million last month alone. This is where I think the big bombshell comes, citing new reports of an estimated $7.7 billion in digital assets that Tehran controls, or Iran, or maybe the IRGC. So just in that story alone, let me pull up the Bitcoin Treasury numbers so you can see exactly where that would stand. Now, obviously, 7.7 billion, we really don't know at what price. We'll guess like $77,000 is probably a good estimate. Here is the list here. Obviously, the United States, supposedly, again, actually, everything on this list in terms of nation states and how much Bitcoin they hold, it's all alleged numbers, okay? But based on all the information we have, we don't have an audit on it. We don't know exactly if these governments, actually there's probably only two governments that we know for a fact of how much Bitcoin they hold, and that's El Salvador and Bhutan. Everyone else is self-reporting, okay? But anyways, United States, again, allegedly holding over 328,000 Bitcoin, or 328,372. China, as far as we know, holds 190,000 Bitcoin. And then as this list stands, because this hasn't been updated, and again, this is estimated numbers from Iran, the UK holds about 61,245. So again, rounding here, 7.7 billion, that's a little over 100,000 coins. If this does come out to be fact, and it's not just speculation, apparently they use, as this report says here, using threat detection data, using a threat detection data firm, it shows that Tehran controls roughly $7.7 billion. So that's definitely going to put them at number 3 on world's biggest, or world's government's biggest Bitcoin holdings. Number 3, right out the gate, which obviously, as we know, what we do know for a fact is that Iran for a lot of years has been very Bitcoin focused. We know that they've been mining Bitcoin. Obviously, in more recent news, we know that they've been seeking Bitcoin payments, making Bitcoin products. Not like an ETF, but this Bitcoin-backed insurance payments. So we know they've been using it. And obviously, it makes perfect sense because Bitcoin is permissionless, censorship resistant. the traditional sanctions vehicles or mechanisms that the United States has, they don't really work in regards to Bitcoin. Hence why I think this conversation is starting to happen in the first place. It kind of shows that, yeah, maybe the way current finance works probably needs to get updated, and Bitcoin throws a huge wrench in those plans. And then further, from Iran's perspective, they want to have a politically neutral money that cannot be stopped. Like, all the incentives work out. As we always say, Bitcoin is for enemies. If you are in a very attack-prone situation, if you are thinking adversarially and you have people wanting to shut off your finances, as we covered yesterday with the WikiLeaks story, obviously this story has a little more weight in terms of emotional connection to it. From most people's perspective, they think Iran is, a bad country, that they shouldn't have any financial access, that they shouldn't have weapons of mass destruction, that they're the big bad boogeyman in the world. Whatever your thoughts are on that, it does go to show that, yeah, if you are in an adversarial situation, you probably want to be holding Bitcoin. Now, you could also talk about the privacy aspect of this, the fact that they can probably track it, at least a good estimate. That's why we had Lauren Rodriguez of Samurai. There are still privacy concerns that we are working through in the current moment. But obviously, Bitcoin has taken the main stage here. So the big news coming out of this Fox News article is that apparently Iran holds $7.7 billion of Bitcoin, or roughly somewhere north of 100,000 Bitcoin, putting them squarely at number 3 on the largest government holdings of Bitcoin. Now, again, most of these numbers are alleged. We really don't know for a fact, but this is what the information is showing us. So going further, of course, the report comes as Iran reportedly launched a new digital insurance platform for cargo ships operating through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that's probably the only reason for us even knowing how much they actually hold, is because they have basically put Bitcoin in the center of their geopolitical plans, in the center of their adversarial thinking. They're like, yeah, well, we're getting shut off. We're getting attacked right now. We obviously can't transact in the dollars, but we want to get money. And hence why they started to look towards Bitcoin. And we're seeing now, because they did this Bitcoin back insurance payments, the fees to go through the toll of the Strait of Hormuz being paid in Bitcoin. Now we're seeing that the reports are showing that they have a lot of Bitcoin, which, if you've been around for a while, we know there's been a lot of rumors that Iran has had a pretty big Bitcoin stash for a long time. From what I can remember, I think this is like the most official notification of that being the case and how big it actually is. And it's huge, okay? Like, it is huge. Anyways, going further, this is where they're talking about the privacy aspects. This is probably like the worst sentence in here, but industry experts say cryptocurrency can still leave a trail for investigators despite being viewed by some foreign adversaries as a way to evade sanctions. It basically says that law enforcement loves Bitcoin because if you transact in it and you don't know how to protect your privacy, you are able to leave a lot of breadcrumbs, which I'm guessing this is how they got that information in the first place. Now, to wrap this up, and this is where the Wall Street Journal article that dropped yesterday, really starts to show that there is a thread working through this. At the very end of this report, now, when I was reading this yesterday, before I read and saw the Wall Street Journal article, I did find it a little interesting that the end of this article said this. Botello also reported that industry insiders believe Washington could increase pressure by threatening to cut off crypto exchanges from the American banking system. Now, at the time when I saw this article yesterday and I was debating whether I should do the show on this, and I was like, well, there's not that much to this story. We just found out that Iran has a huge Bitcoin stash. But I remember reading this yesterday. I'm like, the ending of this article is very interesting. Now, obviously, it's not even like a crazy sentence. It's very benign, to be honest. But then we saw this, which starts to, I think, connect the dots here. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Sorry, guys, and forgive me, guys. Hold on. I am still feeling a little sick, so hopefully I'm over this by Monday. But this is where the dots start to connect for me. The Wall Street Journal posted yesterday at night. So I saw this article in the morning, and then at night, 9:13 p.m. yesterday, we got this post from the Wall Street Journal. The secret payment network that's funneling billions to Iran's military. And the subheadline, Iran moved billions through Binance to fund regime, continuing into this month. And that's where you're like, wow, okay, now the dots are starting to connect. Now, the Wall Street Journal article was behind a paywall, so I can't show that to you. But here's a good breakdown of what it is saying. So, the scoop from the Wall Street Journal investigation that Iran moved billions through Binance to finance the IRGC, with transaction continuing as recently as this month. Now, remember, CZ from Binance, though he officially is not the head of Binance, but from all our kind of understanding and breadcrumbs, to use the term of the Fox News article, he's still basically the shadow CEO of Binance, when you understand that, like, his wife is now the controlling CEO of Binance. So CZ, and from everything you can look at and see, is still probably the head figure, the real CEO of Binance, okay? So he got pardoned in October of 2025, literally the same month that we saw a Binance glitch essentially cater the Bitcoin price, and he got a pardon from Trump. And now we're learning, at least from the Wall Street Journal, and even though they are a paper of record, you know, we all know that there is a political bias coming out of the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times. They are not favorable to Bitcoin at all. So, you know, we are going to take this with a grain of salt, but again, still considered a, quote, paper of record. So the fact they're saying it was still happening up until last month or this month, and he got pardoned over 6 months ago, or was that? Yeah, over 6 months ago. You're like, okay, things that are starting to look a little fishy. So the numbers, $850 million in transactions through a single Binance account operated by Iranian, quote, anti-sanction operator Babak Zanjani over 2 years. Internal Binance compliance reports flagged the account a dozen times. It remained open for 15 plus months after the first alert. Crazy. $107 million moved from Iran's central bank through crypto wallets to Binance accounts in 2025. $260 million in direct transactions between Binance accounts and Iranian terrorist financiers in 2024 and 2025. $218 million routed to an Iranian state financing network via a wallet connected to Binance, and $1.7 billion previously reported by the Wall Street Journal moving through Binance to the same Iranian network. Now, CZ, of course, pardoned by Trump in October after pleading guilty to anti-money laundering violations in 2023. And of course, Binance, a crucial backer of World Liberty Financial that the Trump family owns. And then, as this tweet kind of summarizes, the same week Besant called on G7 to tighten Iran's sanctions, the same week Iran's Hormuz Safe platform collects Bitcoin transit fees, the financial architecture of the Iran war is running on the blockchain. Okay. So again, this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. Now, I know for a lot of people, this is official, authoritative news that, you know, they wouldn't lie to us. They wouldn't have a bias here. Now, Binance has obviously, clearly denied these allegations. They said, no, we followed all the rules. That this isn't happening. Now, you know, who's saving face from this perspective? Who's who in this whole situation? So, but what we do know out of all of this for a fact is, one, Iran holds $7.7 billion in Bitcoin, or, quote, digital assets, which I would presume is Bitcoin because everything else obviously isn't censorship resistant. And two, that almost $1 billion has flown through Binance linked to the Iranian regime. Now, I'm not here to cast allegations, obviously, but it is very interesting when you go back to the Fox News article and talking about this is going to put pressure on crypto exchanges with American bank accounts. Now, obviously, Binance is an offshore exchange, so they really don't have to deal with the U.S. banking system. But part of the Trump pardon was an attempt to get Binance to be onshored into the U.S. Now, my initial kind of thinking of this, obviously, whenever you cover stories like this, as I've talked about in the past, you do have to have some sense of media literacy. You have to understand what is the reason for these articles to be released. Like, what do they want you to think in regards to reading these articles? Now, that was where my initial thinking came from. I was like, okay, well, we got a report couple days ago from Fox News saying that Iran holds a bunch of Bitcoin. Then we got another article followed up by the Wall Street Journal basically saying that Binance helped them build this huge Bitcoin strategic reserve. And at the same time, we know that Trump pardoned CZ here of Binance. And so my initial thinking was obviously very adversarial, very negative. I'm like, dude, they're just starting to build a foundation to basically start to paint Bitcoin as the boogeyman, which I basically covered. Someone tagged me and said, like, what's the problem of Iran embracing Bitcoin? Like, how does this relate to like the WikiLeaks story? And even though we talked about WikiLeaks and we've mentioned the parallels here, the question was offered, or rather framed in a way that I was implying that Iran embracing Bitcoin is going to be bad for the decentralization of Bitcoin, that them embracing Bitcoin was going to fundamentally hurt the Bitcoin network. If that is what I was saying and seemed to imply, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that the media backlash that we are going to see moving forward is probably going to be very big. It's going to be very coordinated. They are going to come after every single one of us. They're going to make us try. They're going to try to make us look worse than ever before because Iran is using Bitcoin, because, quote, the bad guys are using Bitcoin. And again, if what seems to be the case, the Republicans lose the midterms, the Democrats go into, the Democrats win here, and then potentially the Democrats win in 2028, which I think is more of a long shot than them, winning the midterms. We're going to see a huge backlash. They're gonna come really hard on the Bitcoin, not on the Bitcoin network, but they're going to, propagandize against Bitcoin extremely hard. All the things that the Trump administration tried to do, they're going to reverse 180, and we're probably going to be in a situation where we get fought even harder than we did before 2024. Or rather, I guess 2025 when Trump was actually in office. So I never meant to imply, and if I did, forgive me. I kind of ramble and talk really fast on the show, and sometimes I'm not as eloquent as I want to be. But what I meant to say was, and I didn't mean to imply the opposite, that this isn't going to affect Bitcoin, the network itself. It's more about the media backlash that we've been kind of seeing foreshadowed throughout this whole process. So that's where my initial thinking kind of went. Now, trying to parse through the information of, okay, is there fact to this, and what could be the reason for the Wall Street Journal reporting on this? I know why Fox News is reporting on it. Obviously, it's it's a big portion of what's going on in the Middle East currently. And I don't know, yesterday we were getting rumors that like the war is over, that negotiations or, final negotiations were happening. I didn't see anything following up, so maybe you guys can correct me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure nothing has happened yet, that we're still in some form of ceasefire. I know some of the terms have came through, but it seems like the Middle East problem situation mission, operation, war, however you want to name it. It's still unresolved. But throughout this whole process, we've seen Bitcoin definitely take a role in it. Bitcoin is in the macro picture. Bitcoin is a part of geopolitics. And that is very clear. Now, from the Wall Street Journal's perspective, wondering why they are writing this, and you could frame it hit piece against Binance here. What would be their reasons? And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Trump pardoned CZ. Now, when I was thinking through what their angle would be, like my initial thinking was like, are they going to try to say that Trump is actually helping Iran through this, even though he's starting a war? Like, what would be their angle here? And I think it would probably be more on the lines of, oh, you know, Trump's an idiot. He pardoned CZ from Binance, and Binance was helping the very people that we are fighting in the Middle East. I think that's probably where it is, but I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think the angles are here. But what we do know, again, for a fact is, well, actually, it's not a fact. The speculation, what we do know that seems to be the most prevalent fact, is that Iran has a huge Bitcoin reserve, over 100,000 coins. Now, obviously, we do have to have them self-report. And I doubt that they're going to self-report that they hold over 100,000 coins, but we'll take that as a given here. That would mean they have the third largest treasury in the world. It really leans into Bitcoin is for enemies. Bitcoin is unsanctionable, unconfiscatable money. Though, obviously, if you've been following along on this, the Operation Epic Fury, I believe, is the economic operation. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that's the name. Has very clearly no, that was the military. What's the I'm blanking. It wasn't Epic Fury. It was Operation Epic something. I'm blanking. Sorry guys, my brain's hardly working today. This Dayquil is killing me. Operation, I swear it was Epic Fury, but that is the main operation. Anyways, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about today. You guys are gonna have to be a little lenient on me today, okay? A little lenient on me today, because your boy is kind of cooked. Your boy is kind of cooked, not gonna lie. But as we can tell, the U.S. Treasury has been very actively trying to stop the IRGC's funding. We've seen that not only are we watching a military operation happen in the Middle East, but we are watching a financial attack happen at the same time, which obviously is something that Bitcoiners have been talking about for a long time. In the modern world where we live in, if you get cut off from the financial system, you're as good as dead. You're as good as eliminated from doing anything in the world. And now we're seeing that in many respects, Bitcoin is taking the center role in fighting economic sanctions, in maybe giving people economic and political lifelines. And maybe you don't like that, but that is the role of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the money of enemies. Bitcoin is the money that you need when, you know, either a government or an institution tries to cut you off. We're seeing this play out on the world stage. This is becoming, and I think in hindsight will be, one of those proof of concepts that maybe a lot of people will not like. Maybe this will turn a lot of people off of Bitcoin, because everyone still has this kind of like naive, childish view that like, oh, only good guys should be using money. You know, only the good guys use the dollar. Unless you look at the information and it's like, you know, criminals love the dollar. So people, I think what's interesting, actually, I'm talking out loud right here. I'm thinking out loud here. Don going ham today. Lol. You know what is very interesting here, and it's going to be a little ramble just because I'm thinking of it right now. What is very interesting is when it comes to money and finances, like we all go dumb. Like we don't really think through money, and maybe this is a cultural thing where it's kind of rude to like talk about money, talk about your wealth, at least in a lot of cultures. Um, but it's also interesting, like our education about money and finances is probably at the lowest it's ever been, and I think that's probably by design. I actually, it's not a probably, like I know for a fact that's by design. But it is always so interesting that when you talk about money, people just completely turn their brain off. Like, only good people should use money. And it's like, well, everyone uses money. Do you believe that you should be able to cut people off of their finance if you don't like their political opinions, or they say something mean to you, you think it's okay to cut them off the system? Now, maybe this is just the last semblance of being a libertarian in me. A hardcore libertarian is like, I believe everyone has the right to hold money, and maybe that's a naive thought. Maybe that's a theoretical thought that in practice probably doesn't play out as we expect. But I believe in rights, equal rights. I believe in free speech for everyone, even people I don't like, saying things I don't like. I believe in the fact that people should have the right to use money and transact in a society, even if I don't like them. Now, obviously, you can straw man that, and you could say like, well, what about this bad case, and what about that bad case? And it's just like a blanket idea. It's like, well, we all have rights, and yeah, if you do something bad in society, then you do violate those rights. But just saying mean words to me doesn't really mean, in my mind, that I should take away your rights. But again, maybe that's like the libertarian, liberty, freedom, equality for all. But I don't know. Anyways, I was just kind of thinking out loud here. What's Huckster's rule? Anyways, guys, I am going to the most hated Bitcoin rally in history is coming. I kind of agree with that. I really hope that is the case. And Rafa, I think this is a good point. This just accelerates US buying Bitcoin. Honestly, that is one of the things that I was kind of thinking. Again, what have we seen since the US announced that they wanted to buy Bitcoin, or rather, I mean, they never said buy Bitcoin, but announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve, is that now we've seen every other country basically take that statement seriously. And if we don't get our act together in the US, and we're the ones that started the dominoes to fall, and other countries actively start buying Bitcoin or accumulating Bitcoin, a la what we are seeing from this Fox News report that Iran now has over 100,000 coins, like, bro, that's going to be a generational fumble, to say the least. An absolutely generational fumble. Now, there was a new bill that was dropped yesterday. It was the ARMA. I forget what it stands for, but it was a reintroduction of Nick Begich's bill. I'll pull that up real quick for you guys. Where it's basically the Bitcoin Act again, just under a new name. So here's a tweet. Congressman Nick Begich: America's reserves balances sheet is a critical component of our nation's insurance policy, bolstering our currency and providing assurance during times of uncertainty. Over time, the prevailing sentiment as to what constitutes a durable store of value can shift, and as such, it is important for us to recognize this fact and provide the flexibility needed to broaden America's portfolio of reserves acts. So the American Reserve Modernization Act, or the ARMA, ensures digital assets in the possession of the federal government will be consolidated across government and protected as a reserve asset for future generations, protecting these assets from the whims of Congress or future administrations. So he is reintroducing, I believe this is basically a rebranding of the Bitcoin Act, where they acquire 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years and they hold it for 20. Now, what is interesting, though, is that apparently 21 co-sponsors, fitting, right? 21 co-sponsors for today's bipartisan reintroduction. Oh, sorry, guys. Forgive me. I didn't show you guys. So 21 original co-sponsors for today's bipartisan. Here's that. So I'm pretty sure this is basically a rebrand of the Bitcoin Act, which is buy 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, hold it for 20 years. But apparently now there's 21 bipartisan co-sponsors. So as this was saying, if they are getting their, their stuff together here, it would 100%, or rather should 100% accelerate the U.S. buying Bitcoin. Now, obviously, they've put in that self-limitation of budget neutral because they don't want to use taxpayer dollars to buy Bitcoin. So that's obviously the self-limiting form of this, but Rep will not lose midterms. Where did you get that evidence? It's not necessarily an evidence. It's just Trump has like the lowest rating, like lower ratings than George Bush after losing, 2 wars. Like his ratings are pretty bad collectively. They're still high amongst the kind of boomer MAGA perspective, but this Iran war is very unfavorable. And so the kind of trajectory is that the Republicans, or rather the speculation is that the Republicans might not win the midterms. They might actually lose the midterms. And there's actually, very big historical precedent that usually whatever the president's ruling party is in the midterms following, they usually goes to the opposite side. Now, I am a, political noob here, but from all the sentiment I'm getting, it seems like the Dems might win the midterms. Now, obviously, that is still up for debate, but since the Iran war, it's been very unfavorable, and people are not that happy about it. But anyways, yeah, dude. Apparently, we all forgot this lesson after middle school. Anyways, going further, for the rest of the show, I'm going to play, I don't know if you guys saw that Mark Cuban clip that was going around. Apparently, he's saying Bitcoin has lost the plot. I think Mark Cuban's lost the plot. I think we've talked about Mark Cuban on the show so much, and I know we always do this, and you guys always say, like, who cares what this guy says about Bitcoin? When we usually play stuff like this, it's really because it's not just about the person. It's about, like, this is probably what a lot of people think. And therefore, our job as Bitcoiners is to kind of play this and then give our perspective on it. Now, obviously, I'm probably not the best spokesperson for this, but hey, whatever. I'm here. I'm the one doing it. All right. If you think I suck, man, make a show, send me the link, and I will watch it. But we're the only ones doing it. Okay. And then in the news, guys, dude, there's a crazy there's a crazy shitcoin story, guys. And reading this story, it goes to show why we're Bitcoiners in the first place. Like, this is why you don't shitcoin. It's absolutely insane. And then to wrap up the show, it's Bitcoin Pizza Day, guys. So, a little cultural moment here. It's a holiday for us Bitcoiners. So that's today's layout of the show. Quick commercial break, and I'll be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Sorry, guys. All right. The current Bitcoin price is, hold on. Man, what a rough Friday. I'm so, dude, thank God it's Friday today. I'll tell you the truth. All right. The current Bitcoin price is 76,920. The discount from all-time high is 39%. The market cap is currently holding at $1.54 trillion, and the block height is 950,543. Okay. So look, while I am a fan of the Dallas Mavericks, I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Cuban, though. From what I remember, I'm not the biggest sports guy, but I think he sold a big share of the Mavs. But you know, even though I do like him a little bit because I like the Mavericks, you know, I was living in Texas for a little while, fell in love with the Mavericks, even though I don't really care about basketball that much. But hey, it was, you know, that if I have a basketball team, it's the Mavs. All right, so I'm conflicted on this one. But we got a recent clip of Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban has a very interesting story in regards to Bitcoin. You know, for a while, he was one of Bitcoin's biggest hater. And then it seemed like in 2024 at 100K, he came out as like a bull. And now we're in a bear market and he's saying the most idiotic things about Bitcoin. Now, am I surprised? You know what is interesting here is he's a billionaire. And I'm not anywhere close to being a billionaire, right? I'm just a Bitcoiner. And I look at the stuff he says in regards to Bitcoin, and man, it's ridiculous, okay? But hey, he's a billionaire, so his words, you know, carry a little more weight than someone with 42 IQ on YouTube. But anyway, I'm just going to play the clip for you, and then I'll bring up a little bit of receipts of things he's said in the past. So here's the first one. Actually, here's the one from yesterday that was going viral.
And this might get some people upset. I think Bitcoin has lost the plot. And when I started buying Bitcoin, and I've sold all of it, except not all of it, most of it, it was because when all the shit hit the fan with the Iran war, and you know, Bitcoin was always the best alternative to fiat currency losing its value. And I always thought it was a better version of gold than gold. Well, gold just blew up and went, you know, to $5,000. Bitcoin dropped. And every time the dollar dropped, Bitcoin should have gone up, you know, because if it's priced in dollars, it was cheaper. So anybody from around the world could go pay in dollars. And it just didn't do that.
Not such a hedge.
No, it's not the hedge that I expected it to be. And that was really disappointing. And so I'd say I'm more disappointed in Bitcoin, not as disappointed in Ethereum. And the rest, you know, the token stuff, the meme coins, garbage.
Yeah, look. All right, I know I'm like you know, Bitcoin absolutist over here. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, but bro, if you say Bitcoin's lost the plot and then you end your rant with I'm more bullish on Ethereum and tokenizing all the things like NFTs or whatever garbage, is like, bro, what are we talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Now, obviously, I gotta troll it. You guys know me. If you know me in real life, I everything I do is a troll. I joke about everything, and then I have to be like, look, seriously, all right, serious take. My serious take on this is the framing here is Bitcoin lost the plot. It's not a good hedge. And what's interesting in his statement is he's hinging, at least from what it sounds like, he's hinging his view on how Bitcoin has performed since the war. And that was, what, end of February? If you look at the numbers, Bitcoin has been performing the best since the war started. But then he goes in and he says, well, in 2025, gold went to $5,000 and Bitcoin, only went to 126. And you're like, okay, so like what is the time frame that we're talking about here? Are you talking about Bitcoin underperforming gold in 2025? Or are we talking about how Bitcoin has reacted since the war this year in 2026 in February? Because those are two totally different time frames. And like, yeah, I agree with the Bitcoin underperforming in 2025 against gold. Like, gold went parabolic, and we were sitting here like, okay, it's going to be Bitcoin's turn soon. It's got to be Bitcoin's turn soon. And it didn't play out. But as I've been covering on the show, Bitcoin has been extremely resilient since the start of the war, which has very clearly surprised me. I thought Bitcoin was going to dump even more when this war started. In fact, I kind of looked at it this morning. Bitcoin is still outperforming everything else, even with this pullback. It's still outperforming the S&P 500. It's still outperforming gold. So, like, which time frame are we talking about? Like, that statement sounds intelligent until you actually look at the numbers. Bitcoin is the best performing thing since the war started, or at least the second part of the war. I didn't really go back to the 12-day war of last year. I just kind of looked at this year from the start of the war, and Bitcoin is still outperforming. Maybe it's not by that much. Yeah, Bitcoin isn't exploding right now, but it's the best performing thing since the war started. So that statement in itself is like, what are you talking about? And then you're going to show Ethereum and all the other hot garbage. Like, bro, what are we talking about here? Like, this makes no sense. But, I do have one classic. If you've been around for a while, a modern classic is, 5 years ago, Mark Cuban doing the Bitcoin has no real intrinsic value. I'd rather have bananas. I can eat bananas. Like, you don't need Bitcoin. You can create a blockchain on your own now. So, like, I'd rather have Bitcoin than bananas. Like, what are we talking about, dude? Like, well, I hate to say this because he's got more money than me, and he's got way more influence than me. But sometimes it really puts a wrench in the idea that the smartest people are the richest people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not doing myself any favors here, okay? I'm a YouTuber, and I'm just talking shit, all right? But I do want to play you one more video. It is Friday, so we'll have a little fun here. It's a holiday Bitcoin Pizza Day. So how about this edit by Alexis Nakamoto with Mark Cuban, and it is mashed together with Michael Saylor. So we have a 2024 take of Mark Cuban at 100K. We have his new 2026 take on Bitcoin at, 70K. We'll go 60K. And then we have Saylor's, evergreen take on what is going on. This is a great clip.
Bitcoin has become a store of value. It's, marketed that way and has been marketed for the last, 15 years or whatever it is. And it's gotten to a point of acceptance, just like way back when gold got to a point of acceptance as an alternative for legal currency, or as a foundation behind legal currency. So right now the price is near $100,000. That means a lot more people are buying it than selling it. You're not going to carry around that bar of gold, but you can carry around, your phone, as an example, that has Bitcoin on it. And if you need to transfer value to somebody else, it's easier to do it right now, particularly if you're 21, with Bitcoin than it is with gold. And this might get some people upset. I think Bitcoin has lost the plot. And when I started buying Bitcoin, and I've sold all of it, except not all of it, most of it, it was because when all the shit hit the fan, with the Iran war, and, Bitcoin was always the best alternative to fiat currency losing its value. And I always thought it was a better version of gold.
If you're just selling it in order to trade into another financial asset, right? You're a fool. Selling that to buy something which has got more exposure to fiat debasement or to complexity or other types of risk, or shorter term, is kind of just, you had the thing solved and you unsolved the thing. The conclusion you come to is they just don't understand it. They literally don't understand what they're doing, and they don't understand what it is. As soon as you understand what it is, you're just going to sweep all your excess monetary energy, your savings account, into this and hodl forever.
Yo, it's so much better when it's a billionaire rebuffing a billionaire. That shit just slaps way harder. Oh man. Hey, shouts out here. Let me show you guys his Twitter account, because shouts out to this guy. It's almost like a meme Friday, right? That was kind of a meme. Alexis Nakamoto on Twitter. Great. That was a great edit. Needs a little more love. But man, need we say more? Need we say more? All right, another commercial break, and then we're gonna go literally what might be the most insane shitcoin story I've heard in a long time. It's really like a throwback. In the old days, we used to do the fail at the end where we would recover shitcoin fails. Man, this one is absolutely insane. Like if this wasn't an official report coming out from the FBI, like, you wouldn't believe this, okay? You would not believe what this is. It's insane. Another data point on why just Bitcoin, never shitcoin, not even once, okay? So I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin. Here's something most Bitcoin holders never figure out until it's too late. You're sitting on wealth you can't touch without selling. Ledin fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash. And they just introduced their lowest rates ever. No complexity, no fine print. The larger the loan, the lower the rate. These new rates apply to all new loans, refinances, and renewals. You'll see all the rates up front before you apply. The new, lower rates come with Ledin's gold standard protection. Your Bitcoin remains custodied and is never lent out for interest. Perfect 8-year track record of keeping clients' assets safe. Auto top-ups, LTV alerts, and partial repayments to keep you in control. Repay whenever you want with zero penalties or monthly payments. Ledin's perfect $10 billion track record through every market cycle in the last 8 years speaks for itself. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Get both at Ledin. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Bitkey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you already know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. Bitkey fixes that. Bitkey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named Bitkey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
Okay. All right. Check this story out, guys. This is when you're like, this is why we're Bitcoiners. Okay, so here's on the justice.gov from the United States Attorney's Office, District of Massachusetts. So check out this. Here's the headline: 18 individuals and entities charged in international operation targeting widespread fraud and manipulation in the cryptocurrency markets. First ever criminal charges against financial services firm for market manipulation and wash trading in the cryptocurrency industry. So, you read this headline, you're like, okay, cool. Like, whatever. You got some fraudsters and some wash traders. Like, yeah, we know that's happening in the shitcoin space. Like, cool. Finally, you guys are doing your job. Well, check out this tweet here, which really brought my attention to this. Evan Lutheran, he goes, the FBI created a fake cryptocurrency, listed it on Uniswap, hired market makers to pump it, then arrested everyone who said yes. This is the craziest law enforcement operation in crypto history. Oh, man. So the FBI built an actual ERC20 token on Ethereum called Next Fund AI. 100 billion token supply. A professional website, white papers promising, quote, passive income through AI-powered investing. It looked exactly like every other shitcoin project because that was the point. Then undercover agents posted as the founding team, then reached out to professional market-making firms and said, quote, we need you to fake our trading volume. And every single firm said yes. Here's what they recorded. GotBit, a firm run by a 26-year-old Russian who publicly bragged in 2019 that he built a business faking trading volume. His team kept internal spreadsheets with columns literally labeled fake volume versus market volume. And then when asked how fast they could pump Next Fund AI's volume to 1 million per day, they said 6 hours and it will cost you about $200. $200 to fake $1 million in daily trading volume. My trade, run by a guy who called himself the mastermind. He explained the exact psychology of the scam on camera. Quote, we make the chart look like a really nice roller coaster ride. That's where people jump in. We have to make them lose money in order to make profits. He said that on a recorded FBI video call. Oh man, shitcoiners are so dumb. This is why I never shitcoin children. All right, CLS Global, a Dubai-based firm, their bots generated 98% of Next Fund's AI total trading volume. When the FBI asked if they could sync fake volume spikes with fake news announcements, they said absolutely. ZM Quant, bots executing 10 to 20 trades per minute through dozens of wallets to look organic. All of them knew it was fraud. All of them did it anyway. And all of it was recorded. Yo. And the clients are even worse. Saitama, a meme coin that hit $7.5 billion market cap. The founders coordinated buys through private Telegram chats, sent pump it memes while manipulating the price, then dumped on retail investors. 7.5 billion built entirely on fake volume. Every penny of real money came from retail investors who thought the momentum was organic. Man, dude, hold on. Put a bit in it. Dude. It's reminding me of the 2017 days when I found Bitcoin and, had a short stint of shitcoining. And we literally were like, we were doing it seriously, but me and a couple of friends will joke about it now. Like, you could literally throw money at anything in those days, in the whole, shitcoin bull market of 2017. And the one thing that you would literally do is you like find a new shitcoin. And if they had a good website, you're like, yo, this shit's gonna pump so hard. And now, after being burned and putting my head on the stove and realizing that all of the shitcoin markets are literally exactly what this thread is showing you. In hindsight, it is actually kind of crazy just like how dumb I was when I first started and how obvious it is now, and hence why we are Bitcoin maxis, and hence why we say, dude, never shitcoin once, because this is literally every single shitcoin. Okay, this is all of them. Okay, anyways. Where was I? One founder left Saitama and started Robo Inu. Used GotBit again. Another launched VZZN. Same playbook. Then Lillian Finance founder claimed to be a defense contractor who addressed Congress. Marketed the token as funding children's hospital. Bro, that's so bad. Pocketed everything. When the FBI shut it down, they seized 25 million in one day. 18 people indicted across the US, UK, and Portugal. The CEO of GotBit was arrested in Portugal and extradited, sentenced to 8 months plus $23 million forfeiture. But here's the part that broke my brain. Real people bought Next Fund AI. The FBI's fake token with zero utility, zero real developers, created solely to catch criminals, attracted real retail investors because the fake volume made the chart look bullish. When the FBI pulled the liquidity to end the operation, real people lost money on a government-issued shitcoin. The FBI had to set up a restitution portal to pay them back, and it gets worse. Within 24 hours of the DOJ announcing the sting, someone cloned the FBI's exact smart contract, launched a copycat token, rode the viral momentum, and made $127 in a single day. Insane, dude. Using the exact same manipulation tactics the FBI just arrested 18 people for. Then in 2026, the FBI did it again. A new token called LexoBit. 10 more arrests, including operators extradited from Singapore. IRS forensics show that in one firm's trading, 1,209 out of 1,221 consecutive transactions went straight back to wallets the firm controlled, 99% circular. The FBI proved what everyone in crypto suspected. The volume is fake, the charts are painted, the momentum is manufactured. And every time you buy a token because the chart looks bullish, you might be the exit liquidity. Oh, man, dude. Man, guys. It's insane, man. It's truly, truly insane. FBI creates a shitcoin to catch criminals. They catch some criminals, but at the same time, real people lose money because the chart's bullish, because the scammers did their job to make the chart look bullish. And it worked so good the first time, they did it again. Now, obviously, like the real takeaway here is like, this is why we always say, you know, like, I'll step back a bit. I've had a lot of friends, and obviously, like, it's my job every day to talk about Bitcoin, to be bullish Bitcoin, to make Bitcoin propaganda. And in the early days of me becoming a Bitcoiner, I would do the hardest shill to my friends. I'm like, no, you don't get it. You need to buy Bitcoin now. You know, 21 million, like, end the Fed, and, you know, like, it's going up forever. You know, I would do all of those things. And I did that for, I don't even know, man, like 7-8 years, right? And now where I currently am, and then at the time when I would do that, you know, my friends would be like, well, but what about this shit? I'd be like, no, you're an idiot. You just buy Bitcoin. Like, you're gonna get scammed. And now, like, you know, I talk to a friend and I'm less like pushy. I'm like, nah, like, just buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only thing you do. And then they'll be like, well, what about this shitcoin? I'm like, look, you might make some money. You'll probably lose money. I would just buy Bitcoin, but like, do what you want to do with your money. I'm not going to tell you. Like, I'm not going to fight you. If you want to go buy fucking Ethereum, like if Mark Cuban wants to buy Ethereum, it's like, cool, man. Like, fine, have fun. Go gamble in the casino. You know, everyone loves to gamble a little bit. You know, a Ripple Tard comes up. It's like, XRP's the future, bro. They just partnered with the bank, bro. It's going to dethrone Bitcoin. It's like, cool story, bro. Like, whatever. I don't have time to argue with you. But now we have so much data. There's so many cases that are just like this that just constantly prove our point that the only real thing in this space is Bitcoin. And the entire crypto market, and further, the entire, quote, digital asset market is just one giant grift. It's just one giant scam. And it's all hot garbage. None of it is real. It is all trash. The only thing in this space that is real is Bitcoin. Everything else is trash. Everything else is literally what this thread just completely laid out the playbook for. That's how they all work. We all know this to be true. But even when you say that to someone, they do, no, but my shitcoin is special. My shitcoin is different. My shitcoin has, you know, whatever, the attributes that are really going to be the next Bitcoin, bro. And you're just like, we are really living in an eternal September. Like, we really don't learn at all. Like, we really just love to hurt ourselves. It's just crazy that we can constantly show this. And also low-key kind of crazy that it's like an official government agency out here creating shitcoin scams. But like, hey, we're doing it to catch the criminals. Just buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, take it into self-custody. And I mean, look, I'm sure people can use the same kind of, well, what that they're probably doing the same thing to Bitcoin, bro. And it's like, yeah, there is probably some firms trying to wash trade Bitcoin. There are some firms that are trying to manipulate the price. But as we know, Bitcoin is a global market. And enough of us actually hold Bitcoin. We actually know what Bitcoin is. That eventually all that stuff really doesn't matter. You know, do you think that all markets aren't manipulated? You think that where people can make money, they don't try to bend the rules a little bit? That's just how it goes. That's just human nature. But the beauty of Bitcoin is because of the way that it's set up, it's able to box in human greed. Like, yeah, you can be super greedy. You know, you can rehypothecate your Bitcoin holdings, but at a certain point, like the music's going to stop and the market's going to find out whether you actually do or do not hold the Bitcoin. We all saw this happen with FTX. We're still dealing with the FTX saga. But that's the beauty of Bitcoin. We know what it is. Bitcoin is the only thing that is real in the entire, quote, digital assets market. Now, you could, I guess, talk about, you know, the paper derivatives and ETF and like Bitcoin treasury balance or Bitcoin treasury plays. Now, are they necessarily shit coins? I mean, by strict definitions, no, but it's not spot Bitcoin. My shitcoin is special. Yeah, bro. Yours is the special one, man. Yeah, bro. You got it. You got it, man. Yours is special, bro. Yeah, I like this. Bitcoin teaches different lessons to different people along every part of the Bitcoin journey. 100%. 100%. But man, okay, look, I'm gonna stop talking about this, but I thought that story was insane. Like, I'm like, bro, what? One, just the setup is crazy. Two, the outcome is crazy. And three, just, you know, the blueprint for how shitcoin works is, you know, there is a lesson in there. There is a lesson in there. Okay, guys, so it's Friday. It's a holiday. We're going to, I'll recap what the holiday is. And then I do have a couple of funnies here. Okay. I got a couple of funnies here. Yeah, I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high-performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money, it's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail, and hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
Alrighty then, guys. So happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's a holiday. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. So if you are so inclined, maybe get yourself a slice of pizza today for lunch. You know, it's well under that $28, you know, $28 lunch. I don't know what a slice of pizza goes for nowadays, but I don't know, $5, something like that. Maybe less. I don't know. But it's a holiday, Bitcoin Pizza Day. There's a lot of holidays in Bitcoin, all right? There's a lot of monumental moments. And of all of them, well, I was going to say this one might be the most important. It's up there. It's up there for one of the best ones. So if you're newer to Bitcoin and maybe this is your first pizza day and you want to go get some pizza to celebrate, well, on this day, 16 years ago, Laszlo, Heinek's purchased 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. What's 10,000 in today's price? Is that like $770 million or something? Oh, yeah, here we go. 775 mil. Damn. Okay. But this is the first recorded Bitcoin payment in history. And of course, turned the theoretical computer experiment into money with real tangible value. That's always one of the biggest contentions in Bitcoin. It's like, oh, well, if it's money, how come I can't buy anything with it? Well, 16 years ago on this day, it was proven that, in fact, it is money. Now, for many people, they probably don't understand kind of how the story happened. Laszlo put it on the Bitcoin Talk forum, and he basically said that you can say, I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple of pizzas, like maybe 2 large pizzas, so I can have some left over. And basically, he said, like, look, obviously, he didn't pay the pizza company for the pizzas directly with the Bitcoin. But as you can see here, guys, I just think it would be interesting if I could say that I paid for a pizza in Bitcoins. That was the following day. And then you can see here on May 22nd of 2010, says, I just want to report that I successfully traded 10,000 Bitcoins for pizza. And here's the pizza with his family. I had never seen, is that a, I know what's on that paper. Anyways, got some Papa John's. Looks like it's a cheese. And is that like olives? One with olives? Don't like olives on my pizza. But anyways, first successful Bitcoin payment in the world. Now, what is probably more interesting here is that, Laszlo paid someone 10,000 Bitcoin and then they sent the pizza to his house. So, yeah, there's kind of like a middleman, but we usually on this day, we celebrate Laszlo, right? For spending 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 large pizzas, now worth $775 million. But a few years ago, one of my friends noted that like the real hero here is the guy that wanted the Bitcoin and received the Bitcoin. Now, I do have a tweet on this, but I don't know if I really want to dox him. But I'll say his first name. So we always give Laszlo the credit, and credit where credit is due. Obviously, absolute legend. I'm sure now he looks back at those Bitcoins. He's like, man, yeah, I wish I had them. But let's just all say that I don't think Laszlo is hurting for lack of Bitcoin, okay? But the real problem, I mean, Laszlo's a hero in this whole thing, but the unsung hero of this whole thing is the guy that received the 10,000 Bitcoin and bought the pizza, because it proved 2 things here. One, that you can use Bitcoin to get real world things, the first Bitcoin payment in the world. But 2, that people would want Bitcoin. He's like, yeah, I will spend my dollars for this pizza because I want to receive the 10,000 Bitcoin. Now, again, in a market, it's not just the person that wants to sell the thing, or the person that wants to buy the thing. It's also the person that wants to sell the thing with that money. It's, hey, I have this money. I want to buy your product. And then the person being like, yeah, I want your money and I will sell you this thing for that money. It takes 2 to tango. Okay. It takes 2 to tango. Obviously, in hindsight, he realized how big of a moment this is. From all accounts, he didn't even think about too much. He's just like, yeah, whatever. I want that Bitcoin. And yeah, if all I got to do is send, a couple of pizzas to Laszlo to get 10,000 Bitcoin, awesome. Now, Yeah, this is true. He started, wasn't he like the inventor of GPU mining? Like that 10,000 at the time probably wasn't a lot. And in hindsight, he's probably doing pretty good. All right. But it's not just Laszlo for technically selling the Bitcoin for dollars or, buying something, buying the pizzas. In this story, it's the guy that received the Bitcoin. That's probably the real MVP. And now who knows what he did with that Bitcoin? I'm sure maybe he sold it. It literally had like no price. 2010 then. And who knows? He probably sold it along the way. But if he was able to hold that Bitcoin, that would have been a good run. 0 to $775 million in today's price. Great run. But I said I had a funny. And you guys know, if you've been around for a while, how much I love the Bugle. The boys over at the Bugle, they make me laugh. Well, shouts out to Richard Greaser. I saw this tweet right before I went live, and I'm like, yo, I got to add this. I got to add this for Bitcoin Pizza Day. And he goes, Bitcoin Pizza Day may be one of the hardest days for plebs to navigate. It breaks so many purity tests. 1, it involves selling Bitcoin for shitcoins, a.k.a. a pizza. 2, it involves carbs and seed oils. 3, it involves celebrating shitcoining. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day to those who want to enjoy life despite all the purity tests. Oh, man. I love that. That was a good one. Made me laugh. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you, man. I know it's a little shorter show than usual, but I'm struggling over here. I can barely think today. I think I'm getting over this cold. I actually felt better this morning than I thought I was going to. But as you can tell, my voice is a little weird. I am, my brain's barely working right now. I'm going to go take a nap, eat some food, recover over the weekend. Hopefully, I don't have the hentai virus or whatever it's called, and I'm good on Monday. Wait, sorry. It's the henta virus. Anyways, update. Huge breaking, big update. No, it's not. I did talk to Luke, and I think we're gonna get him on. Actually, let me double check my schedule. I'm gonna do this live. I should have probably done this morning when I told him. Let me see. Do I have anyone on Monday? Okay. No. All right. So update. Yeah, I know. I'm just trolling. I'm just trolling, dude. I don't actually think I have. I don't actually even believe in it. Okay. I'm just trolling. But yeah, so Luke on Monday. I don't know if he's gonna show up for the whole part of the show, but we're gonna give you a, if you've been thinking that maybe I've been bearish, you're sick of Nico being a bear. I'm going to bring my Australian friend on the show on Monday, and we're going to get so stupidly bullish, you guys are going to think we are idiots. I've already heard the kind of short spiel of this. Monday Hopium coming in strong. I'm bringing Luke on. We're going to get stupidly bullish, okay? We're going to get bull-tarded on Monday, all right? Anyways, guys, have a good weekend. I hope you guys don't get sick like I did. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Eat some pizza later. Stack some Bitcoin. This is the way. I'll catch you guys on Monday. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.